Gonna keep on moving forward.
Women's rights are human rights.
Moving forward.
No woman is free unless all women are free.
If we're going to have a peaceful generation in the next century, we have to create peacemakers.
Can we unite in a movement against poverty?
Any kind of genuine faith is really a way of living, a way of relating in terms of justice and love and mutuality.
Gonna work for women's freedom, never turning back, never turning back. Gonna raise our voices proudly.
More than 30,000 women from 182 nations met at the NGO Forum during the United Nations 4th World Conference on Women in Beijing, China. Women from around the world experienced global solidarity as they challenged each other and a watching world in personal interaction, workshops, plenary sessions, and demonstrations. Music, dance, and cultural events further underscored women's commitment and contributions to critical issues of justice, peace, and the environment.
When I talk of women entering the global policy debates and influencing those, I don't see this as separate from the work that women have done throughout our lives. I believe that women have been the leaders at the local community level. Women have been the leaders who have held families and communities together in times of crises, who have managed on budgets that were unimaginable to raise children, who have managed to keep people together in the midst of war and conflict. And yet, as you move up the ladder from that local community to national and international policy, women's voices and women themselves disappear. And it is precisely that kind of movement that I believe we have begun in the last decade to demand women's place at the table of global policy making as well as at the table in the kitchen.
The issues of justice are what inspire me, because we had to rise up in our country and fight a dictatorship. And so I'm concerned as a politician with issues of justice for women, justice for the children, justice for the poor people. It is my interest in politics has always been to bring justice to my community.
We have over 1 billion poor, absolute people living in absolute poverty in the world. And 70% of this consists of women, and therefore poverty is a huge gender issue, because the feminization of poverty, how the economic situation is such that women are becoming the ones that are becoming poor, and this kind of issue has to be made known to the world.
But I want to be very clear in a couple of things about justice. We mean by that the redistribution of human resources in an equitable way. So it's very much out of the socio-political, economic stand that we begin our work. We also think that justice has to do with the ability and opportunity to be self-determining women, which means two things. One, that we have real viable alternatives from which to choose, and two, that we can choose without coercion. So that's what our understanding of justice comes, and that's part of the vision towards which we want to move in the Mujerista vision.
Our presence here culminates approximately 5 years of work, beginning to do a gender analysis of the effect of the global economy on women, to find every opportunity in a series of UN conferences to attack that problem, to build alliances with women around the world, both in the South and in the north, and in the south, in the north, and all around the world. And this is a time for us to be together, to work on policy together, to try to move that agenda that says women are important, that their economic life is critical, and that if we don't work on it together, we can't depend upon anybody else to do that work for us.
The issue that brings me here is the human rights of women. Zambia is a developing country, and I feel that human rights is very much a development issue. And so long as we do not recognize the worth of half of humanity, which is women, there can be no real and meaningful development in Africa and in the world.
I'm tracking economic issues, both because I'm currently working as a community organizer with low-income women in Covington, Kentucky, and I'm interested in understanding how the global economy is really shaping and impacting their lives, but also because our community is making a particular effort right now to educate our own sisters on economic reality so that they can be better advocates in the global arena. Women throughout the world are trying to develop, I would say, micro-enterprises where they're trying to work at the grassroots to become locally self-sufficient and self-reliant, starting small businesses, co-ops, trade unions, finding alternative ways of exchanging their resources with one another. But everyone in the group that I was in yesterday agreed that that was not enough, that we also had to be trying to impact the macroeconomic structures in the world and doing basic educational work to help women to understand the economic realities, understand the forces that are impacting them, and train them to become effective advocates to be changing things like the World Bank and IMF.
Hillary Clinton, there were those who tried to silence Hillary Clinton. She wouldn't be silenced. And in her speech here, she was more forthright and unequivocal.
Betty Friedan reported on Hillary Rodham Clinton's address to the government meeting in Beijing to NGO delegates who were unable to attend.
When she said, women's rights are human rights, over and over again, that was the cadence of Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream. That was the cadence of the speech. And when she said, it is a violation of human rights, of human rights, that babies are born and have to eat the leftovers of the table or are abandoned because they are girls. She said it is a violation of human rights, if women are forced to live in poverty, if women are not given an equal opportunity to educate and to earn, if women are subjected to violence in their own home. And Hillary Clinton made a strong statement to the fact that it weakens families when women are passive victims of violence in the home. It weakens families when there is poverty, when there is not health care. It strengthens families when women are able to help earn to support the family. It strengthens families when women and girls are given the education to reach their full potential. And she said so clearly, let us not be divided. Let us find a common ground to move on.